Welcome back to the shop. I just received a package from CJPony. I ordered some stuff about a week ago, so it took about 6 days to get here, which is actually not that bad. And I thought, well, this is great. Why don't we go through, see what I bought? And then I thought, that's not what I do on this website. I'm not just going to show you what I bought. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how much this box cost me to get here, and then you might be able to figure out what I bought. Of course, I'll open the box. But then I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about how much it costs to get these parts, both in US and in Canada, and then we have to think about, well, then how much did it cost me for my other parts? And then how much did it cost me for my car? And I thought, well, why don't I put a video together which explains all of the money I've spent on this car? And that way there, you as the subscriber can actually decide, is this a project you want to take on your own? And at what level do you want to take it on at? And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to understand what it's going to cost you, both in the car and in the parts. In order to do that, we have to go back to the 60s. Okay, it's not the 60s, but I brought my lava lamp out. I figured that would put you in the mood. So we have to take a look at the price that I paid for this car. Now, why did I pay what I paid? And I'll get into that in a few minutes. Is I wanted a convertible, right? And I wanted a V8 convertible car. So when you take a look back in 1967 and 1968, the production models for the Mustang included the convertible, the fastback, and the hardtop. Now, the convertible only accounted for 8% of all of the cars built. So only 8% of the cars built were convertibles. 13% of those cars were fastbacks. And of course, 79% of them were the hardtops. Now, when you take a look at, why those numbers were the way they were, it probably had to do a bit with the price as well. Because back then it was $2,900 for a convertible Mustang base model. Comparative base model in the fastback was $2,800, so it was $100 less. And then, of course, the hardtop, or the coupes as we know them, was $2,700. So there was a $200 to $300 difference between the coupe and the convertible. And back then, that was big money. That was $1,000, right? Because when you bring these up to today's standards, $2,900 is like $21,000, $22,000 in today's dollars. And therefore, the coupe would have been like an $18,000 car, and the convertible would have been $22,000 car. So that it really kind of led to what those production numbers were. So as I said, since I was looking for a convertible, I was right away knocked down to 8% of the production that I was able to find a car. So then, what is the car worth when you take a look at, looking for an old Mustang? Well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a car to restore, Haggerty would say that you need to find a car that we refer to as a fair car. That's a number 4 car. A fair car is a driver. It has all the parts on it, and you can actually drive the car around the block. They'll be pitted, and it'll be scratched, and might have some dents on it and things like that, probably a little bit of rust, but that's a fair car, and Haggerty says that's about a $13,000 car in today's money. Of course, you can move up from that, depending on if you want to do all the repair I did, which of course you probably don't, but I'll get into that. A good car, according to Haggerty, is a number 3 car. Now, a number 3 car today is going to run you about $22,000. Now, these are all U.S. numbers. I'm not converting to Canadian yet, people, so just bear with me on that. So a good car is going to be a driver, obviously, but with less wear, probably nicer interior, a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit less dings and scratches and pits. Then they move up to a number 2, which is called an excellent car. An excellent car is really just a couple of steps down from a concourse car. I'm not going to bother with them. You know what a concourse car is, and I'm not going to explain that. But, an excellent car is like $37,000, and a concourse car is $48,000. So the idea is that, what do you want? I wanted to build a car. I wanted to restore a car. I figured I'd look for a fair car. Now, where am I going to look for a fair car? I try to look in Canada. You can't find a lot of fair cars in Canada. A lot of the cars in Canada have already been restored. So up here, you're going to have to buy a good car. And a 22K US would equate to about 30,000 Canadian. That's not what I wanted. I was looking for a less expensive car that I could fix. So when you're looking for a car to restore, you have to decide what level of restoration you want to do. Do you want to tackle all the hard parts? I did. If you want to tackle that, then you can look for a fair car, which is going to be a number 4 or maybe even a 4-, something a little even worse than that. Unless you're looking for something even worse that you really want to bring back, but that's your call. The idea is with me, I spent $10,000 US on this convertible. Now, why did I do that? First off, convertibles are harder to find. Second off, finding one of these in Canada is almost impossible. The entire population of Canada, I've been talking the entire population of Canada, is less than the population of California. So percentage-wise, you're simply not going to find, the range of cars up here that you will find in the U.S. So I went to the U.S. Now, buying the car in the U.S. has some challenges. So let's talk about that. So what are those challenges? The challenges are that I need to now get this car home. So for my American brethren, you've paid $10,000. You got a car similar to mine, right? You're going to do hard part replacement. You're going to do interior replacement, or things that I personally call discretionary parts, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. And the idea is that you're going to go restore a car. So you've paid your $10,000 and you put the car in the trailer and you drive home. For my Canadian friends, it's a little different. You now have to find a broker. You cannot bring one of these cars over the border yourself. About 9 years ago, I went down to the U.S. I bought a couple of motorcycles for my wife and myself, and I brought them back, did it all myself, did all the paperwork, easy peasy. You can't do that anymore. You have to have a broker number. You have to actually be a registered broker. So you have to find a broker. I found one called AA Brokerage. Who cares? $300. It's going to cost you $300 for the brokerage. Get that done. You bring the car back, you hit the U.S. side of the border first, you tell them that you're taking the car out of the U.S., they check the VIN, make sure it's not stolen, they stamp a piece of paper, charge you $60, you're on your way. You hit the Canadian side. Now you hit the Canadian side, you are no longer a regular car. You don't have the ability to go left where you go down where the regular cars are. You have to go to the commercial side. The reason is you are a commercial brokerage. You're working on a broker, you're bringing a vehicle back, you're just the driver. So you go to the commercial side. You get the commercial side, you're going to hit there, they're going to take your paperwork. In my case, they had to escort me to an off-site facility where they actually do the clearing. And again, a couple of stamps and pay tax. So my $10,000 car actually, with the exchange rate, is $12,700. So now this is $12,700 Canadian. I then had to pay the $300 brokerage. I then had to pay $1,694 in sales tax, and now that car is $14,425. So American friends, $10,000, you got your car in the garage. Canadian friends, $14,425, you got your car in the garage. And now you start working on it. So hopefully you've been watching my videos. You understand that I pretty well cut the back end of this car off, right from the back seat back. New frame rails, new trunk, new quarter panels, new inner and outer wheel houses. The whole rear end is done. Front end, frame rail extensions, floor pans. So all of that I had to do, I had to buy all those parts. Those hard parts were $1,459 US. Now you have to pay tax. So that's $180 in tax that you pay, and that's now $1,639 US for the hard parts that I put on my car, just to give you an idea what it's going to cost you. So if you have to replace the same parts that I replaced, you're looking at about $1,600 in hard parts. Hard part, I just refer to something you have to weld onto the car as a hard part. That's how I look at it. My Canadian friends, of course, with the exchange, that's $2,088. Plus you have to pay now the 13% tax as you bring that back into the country. That's $171. So now you're at $2,359 for the same hard parts. So your car's in the garage. American friends, $1,600. Canadian friends, $2,359. And your car, as I reach over and knock on the quarter panel, is done where mine is. So as far as metal, it's actually not that bad. $1,600, $2,300 for the metal. Where is the big cost? The big cost is what I call the discretionary spend. So what is discretionary spend? Discretionary spend is what you feel you have to replace. The hard parts you had to, but some of this you don't have to. You just want to. And that's where the price goes up big time. So obviously new instrument cluster, right? So we have the new instrument cluster. I feel like Vanna White here. New instrument cluster, the original gauges, but I cleaned them all up. Obviously new bezels, new glass, new plastic, new everything. I don't know if anybody can notice that. Might be hard to see. Let me focus right in on that. That is a tachometer. I put where the clock would normally go, which I didn't have. This was an empty blank spot. I found a 2-inch tachometer online. put it in the back, I got a tack. Because remember, I'm turning this into a 5-gear car. Now it's kind of funny because most cars that came out of the Ford factory didn't have a tack. And even though they were the 4-gear cars, they didn't have a tack, and it was really kind of weird. And I was trying to find out, well, how much was that as an option? Because why wouldn't everybody have a tachometer? Everybody loves tachometers. They're hen's teeth. I couldn't find a tack. I tried to find somebody who would build me a tack, or I tried to retrofit a tack. I tried to find the silk screening or something like that, something that, I could do. I couldn't find it. Ended up, like I said, little 2-inch tack, good enough for me. I mean, I'm not going to race this car, but basically you still want to understand what your RPMs are doing. And with the 5-gear, hopefully a lot less. This is a discretionary spend. I didn't have to do this. I could have left the original. So when you look at your car, when you're buying it originally, keep that in mind. Be honest with yourself. If you feel you can live with the way the interior looks, the way the seats look, the way maybe the carpet is, great. You probably won't. So get prepared. What did Wally spend on discretionary parts? I spent $4,259 US on discretionary parts. That means a full interior, mirrors. I even bought, like I said, I even bought a new dash pad. I bought pretty well everything for the car in the interior. I replaced everything. It's really hard not to. You're restoring the car. You're going to put a beautiful paint job on it, and you're going to leave the original bumpers that have got pits on them. I couldn't do it. I bought them. So that is $390 in tax, which means $4,649 for my American friends. Pretty well to buy everything you need to replace the interior. Okay? There it is, $4,600. Now, for my Canadian friends, unfortunately, that equates to $5,900 Canadian. You have to pay $770 tax to get that across the border, which means now you're at $6,695 for the soft parts. And again, discretionary. You can go down from that, or you can go up, way up from that. I mean, you can replace things with all of the best of the best of the best, right? Obviously they make a couple of levels of things, and it really depends on what you want to do. Basically, we're at $6,695, so $6,700 in soft parts, $2,359 in hard parts, and of course $14,425 for the car to begin with. So you do the math. Well, let me do the math for you. So drum roll, please, for my American friends. If you're going to restore one of these cars and you're going to pay $10,000 for the car to begin with, you're going to end up at $16,288 for an unpainted car. Now you'll have most of the soft parts right at that price. You will have the metal all done. Again, if you've had the same issues I did, you'll have all the metal done. You'll have the interior parts that you need. So really, other than drivetrain, because I don't know what your drivetrain problems might or might not be. Maybe you have none and you just use the drivetrain that came with it. But basically, you're going to be at about $16,000. So by the time you paint the car, by the time you do a few other things, probably 20, you'll be in this for $20,000 to restore that Mustang. For my Canadian friends, you're at $23,479. So for $24,000, you'll have what I have right now. You'll have a rust-free body. You'll have most, if not all, of the interior parts. Of course, I have no paint on this car. And I personally have to still rebuild my 289 driveline. And the challenges go, again, in Canada. Getting these parts in Canada, by the time I get the exchanges on them, I'm probably going to be about $4,000, maybe $4,500 into that motor by the time I get it all done and into the car. So I'm eventually going to get to about $28,000, maybe $30,000 to build this car. Now, there was one option I didn't talk about yet, and that is custom. Now, what is custom? Custom is something like power windows. I put power windows in this car. I didn't add that to this total because that is my personal choice to put power windows into this car. The other thing is air conditioning. Again, it's a convertible. You don't need air conditioning, but I thought I'm going to be doing a lot of driving. Depending on the hot, humid weather, I don't know where I'm going to be. Air conditioning is something that I would like to have just in case. These are big ticket items. I mean, the air conditioning alone in US is $1,300 for the air conditioning. So, of course, that translates to about $1,700 Canadian. The power windows are $1,100 US. So again, if you're going to be putting power windows into your car, add $1,100 for that in the US. In Canada, you're adding about $1,400, obviously, again, with exchange. Now, I did do a brake conversion. This car was a drum brake all around. I did put front discs on, which means I needed a power booster and a new master cylinder and brake line kits. All of that totaled is about $975 US, and in Canada that's $1,200 Canadian to do the power brake, the power brake with the front disc. Now, all of that total, so right now $23,479, doesn't include what's in the box. So let's find out what's in the box. Okay, here we go. We're back to the box. This box has $350 worth of product in it, US. Now there's $50 in tax, local tax, so that's $400 in US parts in this box. Now, to get that here to my address, it costs $30 for shipping, as I mentioned earlier. FedEx ground, 6 days, $30. Wow, I got no complaints on that. But in total now, we're talking $430 US. I have to convert that to Canadian. That becomes $550 Canadian dollars. On top of that, I got to pay $70 in taxation on top of that. So this box now is $620 sitting here. So now you're thinking to yourself, wow, what did he buy for $620? Let's find out. Seals. A lot of the things I didn't buy the first time around, I was focused on hard parts and interior parts. Until I did an inventory, I didn't buy a lot of the seal kits I needed. This is a convertible. It's got seals everywhere. I have to get the convertible top, right? All the seals around the convertible top itself. I also needed the door seals. So these are the seals that go around the doors. This is the hood seal, right? This is the seal that runs along the back of the hood. So when you close it, it seals against the cowl. Of course, when I bought a clutch for this car, because I converted it automatic to standard, I needed to put a clutch pedal in. Of course, it doesn't come with everything. It doesn't come with nothing. Anything you buy, you have to buy all the little bits around it. Sometimes they sell a kit. That kit might come with all the parts you needed. Very rare to find kits. You have to buy everything. That was the clutch pedal. That's the convertible roof, right? So you can see this is one large piece of rubber seal, and it has some weather stripping as well. I'm assuming this is going to go across the top of the windshield so that when the roof comes down and you clamp it in, it squishes in. So that's something there as well. Oh, everything's down to the bottom. Let's bring it up. Light blue metallic windlace. They had sent me the dark blue metallic windlace. I wanted the light blue metallic windlace, so I bought it. $30. But it adds up, $30. You know, in my previous videos, I'm turning this into a GT car, right? I've got the GT caps, I've got the GT rims, I've got the GT gas cap, I have the dual exhaust, rear fender, and of course, I needed the badges. Fender bolts. Barry over at Joe Daddy bought more of these, and I was laughing when I was watching his video because I had ordered more of these. Order more of these, right? You need them. This is, they go everywhere. The hood hinges, right? When you put the hood hinges into the side of the fenders. Uses these bolts. These bolts are everywhere, so use them. Oh, hood, again, for the hood now. This is for, because I've got the hood locks, I'm going to be moving the rubber stoppers out to the fenders. I also need the rubber along it because I'm going to be doing the gapping. I need this so I can gap. I need to have the hood sitting the way it is so I can move the fenders up and down. I need this stuff. Didn't have it, I needed it. More bolts. These bolts are the ones that go on the upper rock guard on the front grille. The way they work is that plate goes down and it's got to be flush because the trim goes around it. You can't have a bolt. These are actually flat one side, right? And you can see it's flat on the top, and that's what works there as well. Discretionary spend. This is the front hood molding. here is my original molding. And you say to yourself, Wally, you had a discretionary spend here. You made the call. Did you want to spend this $30 or whatever this is worth? Yes, I did. You can see it's cracked there and it's pitted and rotted. Could I have left this alone? Yes, I could have. And this is going to be your hardest decision. Do you spend money on stuff you already have just because you don't like the way it looks? And that is where you're going to take your discretionary spend, anywhere from that $4,600 US and $6,600 Canadian to, you know, $5,000, $5,500 US and $7,000 or $8,000 Canadian. That's going to be your choice. Like I said, I put so much effort into that hood, there was no way I was going to put that old piece back on. I had to get a new piece. So I was going to do it. I couldn't do it. Headlight rebuild kit. So this is for the headlight bucket, right? So you've got the headlight extension, you got the headlight bucket behind it. In that bucket, you've got little plastic inserts where the screws go in. They hold the O-ring in. The springs which hold the pressure on the headlight so that when you adjust it, old and crappy, new and beautiful. So again, right? Are we up to $660 yet? What do you think? This is the concern, right? A new turn signal lever arm. I can't find my old one. It's around here someplace, but it's pitted. I have to change it. So again, more bolts, more flat things, another headlight rebuild kit. $660. So when you're rebuilding one of these cars, these are the costs you are going to be dealing with. This is the cost of doing this car. And this is why it's so important that when you buy the car originally, you really take a look. Are you going to have to replace the seals? Are you going to have to replace all these little bits? Can you live with that chrome trim? If you can, your costs come down pretty good. You could probably get your soft costs into the mid threes, you know, low threes. That's a possibility. Again, if you're reusing. If you're going to replace the entire interior, you're going to replace a lot of this chrome stuff. You're 4, we're 6, and that's just the way it is. Well, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please press the like button. Like I said, I just like to understand how many people are, actually getting some value out of these videos. As I said, I'm not going to do normal videos. I mean, my switches are in now. I'm going to start working on the electronics. These are micro switches. In this car, you had a foot-operated pedal where you would press it and your wipers would come on. If you pressed it further, you were actually pushing a diaphragm, which you then manually squirted the washer fluid onto your windshield. I've got the micro switch, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to leave that foot pedal in, but when you push the foot pedal, of course, it's still going to operate the wipers, which is going to give me what I refer to as pulse. I'll be able to pulse the wipers. And then if I push a little further, micro switch hits, motor starts. I then clear the windshield washer fluid with a motor rather than a pump, and then I run no risk of the fluid getting into the car. So just a bunch of stuff that's coming up. I'll be showing that in the future. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. A little sneak peek for those who decided to wait until the end of the video. I'm now working on the fender gaps. As I said, I'm going to start looking at getting all of the gaps on this car. I've already done the door to the B-pillars, right? So that gap is set. These doors aren't moving anymore. The only thing that can move is the fenders. The hood can't move anymore because the hood has a good reveal all the way along the cowl. That means the hood is square to the cowl. So I can't move the hood this way, which means it's the fenders that have got to either move in or out or move back and forth. So it's all about fender adjustment next time. So again, like I said, hope you found this useful. Next video will be out in the next few days on fender alignment. Talk to you then.